In this video, we are going to write some server-side validation code in order to ensure that the email input is not blank and it is a valid email input. That is, that it has the @ sign, and after the @ sign, it has a dot something like .com. So first of all, I want to talk about the difference between server-side and client-side validation code. Now you see we have this required attribute. We also have a title and all this code right here. That's client-side validation code. Okay, so why this isn't efficient? I'm going to show you exactly how somebody could circumvent all this code. So if I try to enter an email address that is not valid, what's going to happen is that the form will not let me. That's because of the code that we just looked at. So let me show you. See, we get this message and it's not going to let us, but suppose somebody goes into the inspect element. Let's try that. Now let's go find the form. And you see we have all this code right here. Let's go to the required. Delete that. Delete all this client-side code. Make that a type of text. So without saving, let's see if we can enter in something that is not an email address. So now let's go to the PHP myadmin, refresh, and you see we have an email in the field, but it's not an email address. So now let's go to the code and fix all that. Let's take all this client-side code out. So let's go up and make that text. I want to show you that we don't need any of that. So let's go up right here, right under our email variable. So let's create an if statement. If strpos, another function, takes two strings. We're going to take the email, and we're going to take the @ sign. The strpos function gets the position of the first occurrence of a string inside of another string. So what we're doing here, we're finding what position is the @ sign inside of the email variable. But we're not necessarily concerned in this case where it is, but that it exists at all. So if the user types in an email address and it does not have the @ sign, then this strpos is false. So if we say equals false, and with a double ampersand, we want to add another. We want to make sure that it has a period. So strpos, again, the string email, and we're looking for the string period. If both of these are false, then we don't want the value in our database, but we also want to send a message. So inside curly braces, we're going to echo something. Let's echo an H2 and then say, please enter a valid email. Okay. So then we're going to return false. In other words, we're not going to let it happen. So let's type return false. Okay, so let's go and check that. Let's see if we can enter an email that's not a valid email. I'm just going to type my name and click. Oh, we got an error, but we do have enter a valid email. Let's look at this error. So I spelled email wrong right here. We'll fix that. Okay, so now let's go and see if we can enter a valid email this time. See, that's working. But we also want to make sure that the dot comes after the @ sign. Otherwise, it's not a valid email address. So for example, suppose I try to say Eddie dot something and then the @. Let's see if that's going to work. Refresh, and you see that's working, but that's not a valid email address. So we need to go back to the code, and right down below we need to create another if statement. Let's say if strpos, again we're getting the email and the string the @ sign. Now we're concerned with whether the @ sign is greater than the period sign. So we use the greater than sign. I'm going to go ahead and copy this email in the dot sign. Sometimes copying's faster, but sometimes you make errors with copying, so we have to pay attention to that. So I'm going to copy this right here, all this stuff right here. Okay, I'm going to add again, that way we can distinguish between these two strings. Okay, so let's go and try this out. Oh, wait a minute, what's wrong? Okay, we got to fix this. See, copying and pasting does cause errors. So I'm going to have to actually add this strpos function. Make sure it's all wrapped around parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again. See, the period is going before the @ sign. So this is not a valid email address, even though we have both a dot and an @ sign. So we should get the message that begins with, again, this is an invalid email address or something like that. Let's see. Okay, see again, please enter a valid email address. Let's try to do that with a valid email address. Something @ something dot something. That seemed to work. Let's refresh. And that's working. But now we have a blank username, so we got to fix that. Let's go right underneath the username variable. Let's create another if statement. So if this username is equal to an empty string, so in quotation marks, just leave it empty. Or, when we use or as a double lines, empty is another PHP function that takes a string, finding out whether the string is empty. So in curly braces, so I'm going to copy this. Hopefully I won't make any mistakes here. I'm going to change the message that we're going to get. I'm going to just say username cannot be empty. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that and try it out. So I'm going to enter a valid email address. See if this works. Username cannot be blank. So the reason why it's red, while I was paused, I entered this CSS style for an H2. So you can do that or not if you want. So we have validated. Let's try this again. This should work. Let's see. Let's go check it out in the phpMyAdmin. And there's our new record. We are validating the username so that it cannot be blank, and we have validated the email address. I'm going to empty that table out. So now we need to validate the password. So I'm going to leave that as a challenge to you. Let's see if you can create some functionality to make sure certain symbols are used inside of the password. And in the next video, we'll go over that challenge. We will also ensure that the password has a certain length to it to make it stronger. And then we're going to encrypt the password. So we're going to do all that in the next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.